In the vast mountains, with the ocean splashing its seawater in the sand beach, Liu, a military veteran, can be seen unconscious. Suddenly, he showed signs of waking up, and when his eyes finally opened, he turned his lying body the other side to see the sun. While wondering where he is, he gets up upon suddenly remembering that he was on a plane crash, and concludes that he was thrown into an unknown island as a result of the incident. He felt an excruciating pain on his shoulder, and describes it like being run over by a large truck. He stretches his arms as he decided to be optimistic and find other survivors for the time being. Not too far from where he is, he saw an unconscious woman. He immediately runs to check if she's still alive, but when he checks her state, he was suddenly charmed by her voluptuous figure. He immediately gathers himself away from the distractive thoughts and tries to wake her up. When he moves the woman's body to see her face, Liu was surprised when he sees a friend from the past, Lingyu. He recalls the time in high school when he had a good friendship with her and her sister, Sufei. However, when he and Sufei got into a romantic relationship, Lingyu's personality changed to the point that she ended up using her family connections to kick him out of their school and breaking him up with her sister. He remembered hearing that she became the managing director of their family company as he scans her face and saw the scar he left from their argument in the past. Suddenly, Liu carries her body close to him as he laughs that she deserves her current situation. He places his hands in her stomach and puts some pressure as if hugging her. Right after that, Lingyu gains consciousness while coughing the water she consumed. She was surprised when the first person she sees is Liu, who assumed that she may not recognize him anymore due to his sudden boost in handsomeness. Lingyu denies his assumption and calls him ugly instead, but Liu just put on airs from her reply. He then asks her if she's with her sister, but even though he wishes for her not to be there, Lingyu tells him that Sufei was the flight attendant. Lingyu immediately pleads for Liu's help to find her sister, and it just happens that it is also what Liu wants to do. They run aimlessly in the beach, yelling Sufei's name while hoping she'll hear them. However, they were forced to stop when Lingyu trips all of a sudden. Blood can be seen in her foot as she groans from pain. Liu offers help and urges her to try standing up first, but Lingyu brushes his hand away to deny his offer. However, Liu is not the slightest worried about her and her behavior, and Lingyu tells him to just go and continue finding Sufei. She stands up again, and the two continued their search. A man's body suddenly caught the attention of Liu. He approaches him to confirm if he's already dead, but his clothes were what really attracted his curiosity. Lingyu expresses her disgust when she saw Liu wearing the man's coat, but he just explains that it is a necessary measure. He then grabs the man's long sleeve and hands it to Lingyu, who is still reluctant to receive it. The two eventually reaches the part of the island that is abundant with trees. Afterwards, a group of people can be seen not too far from their location. Liu immediately runs off towards them as soon as he noticed their presence, hoping that he can find Sufei among them. While running, he suddenly comes to a halt when he saw a sling bag in a tree's branch. He gets the bag and wonders if it fell out of the plane. Opening it brought delight to him when he finds a lighter and other necessities inside. However, a man's voice suddenly calls him out to hand over the bag to him. Liu looks at him with his cold eyes while asking who he is. The man introduced himself as Fei, the division manager of the Longli group. He points out to Yang, the captain of the flight and his friend, as he forces Liu to hand over the bag. Liu puts a respectful act, but still refuses to hand the things over. Meanwhile, Lingyu recognizes that he is one of the airplane's sponsors. However, Fei still desperately tries to get Liu to follow his orders. All of a sudden, Liu and Lingyu's serious faces turn into excitement as they heard Sufei yell their name. Sufei immediately approaches the two, and Liu spaces out after seeing her pretty face. All of a sudden, Fei yells at Sufei, telling her to come back to them. Sufei trembles while explaining that she just came to see her sister and classmate, and Liu glares at Fei for his trashy behavior. Fei then told Sufei that only her sister can join their group, and Liu needs to give the bag to him. But Liu just smiles at him while emphasizing that he won't do it. A man suddenly approaches Sufei, and in the next moment, her body was already restrained by the man who Fei mentioned earlier, Yang. Liu orders him to let Sufei go. However, Fei informs Yang that there is a need to teach him a lesson. Two other men clenches their fists while intimidatingly approaching Liu. Anger swells up in his mind. His desire to save Sufei makes him harden his fist, and he quickly punches Yang in the face. Sufei screams when she finally escapes Yang's hold, because Yang is now bleeding due to Liu's smash. The men shout their war cry as they charge at Liu at the same time. Liu dodges the first man's punch, and right after that, he jumps to grab the head of that man, while two more opponents charge straight at him. But in the next moment, they immediately got pummeled by Liu's punches and kicks. Enraged, Fei grabs his knife to join the fight, but Yang hurriedly stops him. He then calls out Liu and calmly tells him that he has no place in their team, so he needs to go away. Liu smiles at his decision because he really had no intention of joining. But before he goes, he tells him his one condition, and that is to bring Su Fei with him and Lingyu. Fei yells, refusing his condition to bring Su Fei with them. Liu didn't back out, as he tells him to ask the person herself if she really wants to stay. Fei doesn't want to accept what Liu wants, but Yang told him to calm down and just let her go. Liu felt relieved that his iron fist made them understand his superiority. He begins to leave with Su Fei and Lingyu, but all of a sudden, someone told him to wait. When he looks at the direction of the voice, he saw a man, along with two women, who asks him if they can come with him. Liu thinks about it carefully, but he then decides that it is beneficial, so he reaches out his hand to accept his plea. His decision made the man, Chen, delighted as he expresses his thanks that he, along with Millie and Suzuru, can join Liu's squad. While they are taking their leave, Fei asks Yang if it is a good decision to just let them go. To answer his question, Yang shows a mad smile, reminding him not to forget that they have all the food and essential items. Meanwhile, Liu's group is now on their way, wandering in the forest. Liu remembers seeing all the supplies put together in one place by Yang, so he assumed that he is planning on monopolizing all the supplies. All of a sudden, Chen tells him to look at the cave he just discovered, right after he thought that they need to find a shelter. Liu thanked him in his mind because it is what they need the most at the moment. With a face full of excitement, he informs all of them that he needs them to gather useful things like plastic bottles and airplane debris. He made Chen in charge of their material harvesting, and all of them agree except Lingyu, who complains what will Liu do if they're the ones doing all the work. Liu ponders upon his plan to think of something that will serve as their protection, but he just told Lingyu that he has more important things to do. She tries to go and confront him, but Su Fei stops her. Afterwards, they went into the beach while having fun finding the resources. Liu then smiles upon finding what appears to be an airplane debris. The group eventually entered the cave, wherein they set up a campfire to warm themselves up. Millie was amazed that the hollow vine can be used as water, while she praises Liu for his knowledge, and Suzuru expresses her gratitude towards him. Chen noticed his superb skills at surviving in the wilderness, so he asks him if he was in the army before, and he told him that he served there for 5 years. But contrary to his excitement, Lingyu tells him that he's just boasting joining the army because he didn't go to school. To fight back, Liu urges her to return the hollow vine if she really despises him so much. The argument is getting escalated, so Millie claps loudly to get their attention, while inviting them to sleep. Liu then instructs them that Chen and him will sleep on both ends, and as he mentions Su Fei's name, Lingyu beat him up to it first, warning him that Su Fei will not sleep close to him. After she said that, Liu asks her if she's the one who will sleep with him, given that she'll guard her, and it made Lingyu angrier. He then tells her to calm down, while reminding her to be careful on the snakes in the island. However, Lingyu doesn't believe him, because she thinks that the existence of the campfire will scare them away. Suddenly, a small lizard entered her sight, and eventually landed on her chest. Lingyu immediately screams and runs away due to being terrified. However, she accidentally trips on a big rock. Su Fei calls her out of concern, and Liu immediately runs to save her. The next instant, he puts his body in front of her to prevent her from falling. The two fell to the ground, but thankfully, they prevented falling on the cliff. Liu groans from pain while he is thinking how great of a bother Lingyu is, but when he took a closer look, he noticed her big chest right in front of him. He immediately averts his eyes when Lingyu gets up and covers it with her hands. Su Fei comes in between them to stop their argument, and as time passes, they started to sleep. It is in the middle of the night, and almost everyone in the group is already resting. Liu suddenly heard Lingyu talking in her sleep while dreaming about him. All of a sudden, she turns her body towards him, so Liu tries her best to not think of inappropriate thoughts about her. Suddenly, a loud sound echoes inside the cave. Chen woke up and asked the situation, and Liu replied that someone triggered the trap that he set. All of them eventually woke up, and with a pointy stick in his hand, Liu prepares himself for a potential battle. Fei yells and complains as he and Yang, with one other guy, got caught in Liu's trap. Yang climbs up from the trap while complaining, but Liu just insulted them as worse than animals because they got caught in a trap made for them. Angered, Fei expresses his disbelief at the existence of wild animals in the island, while betting that he'll eat his knife when he's wrong. In the next moment, he got scared when he suddenly heard an animal's howl. Liu laughs at him while urging him to start his knife-eating show. Fei now points his knife towards Liu, but Yang calms him down and tells Liu that they just wanted to borrow some light. Enraged, Chen yells at him and refuses to lend their hard-earned fire. Liu also refused to lend it, but he says he is willing to exchange a torch with food and clothes. Yang accepts his condition, even though Fei is reluctant doing it. When they leave to get the stuff for exchange, Chen asks Liu if they are really going to lend them, and with a serious expression, Liu tells him that they also need to secure foods and clothes to survive. Afterwards, Yang and Fei came back with the promised goods. Yang smiles while explaining the small number of goods they can give, because of the large number of people in their group. Liu clears his throat before telling him to make up for it by giving him a weapon. Fei yells, disliking the fact that he's taking advantage of their needs, but Yang immediately accepts his additional condition. Afterwards, a guy gives Liu the axe he's holding. Liu bids them goodbye as he makes fun of Fei, who barks at him while they leave. Liu goes back inside the cave, wherein an impatient Lingyu asks him why did he took so long. He then tells her that he asks Fei's group how much food can he get in exchange for her, but it was apparently just 2 instant noodles. He goes straight to Su Fei and invites her to return to sleep, ignoring Lingyu, who stares daggers at him. They then put the newly acquired food and clothes near the fire. A few hours later, Millie and Liu are near the end of a cliff, right after the morning came. Millie stretches her body while enjoying the fresh air, different from the air inside the cave. Millie thanked Liu for letting her join him in the quest to find water, and Liu welcomes an outdoor expert like her. However, that is only because his original plan to go with Su Fei was prevented by Lingyu earlier. All of a sudden, Millie told him to look at what she just discovered, and upon looking he saw a small river. She then suggests to use the branches of the large trees to get down to the location, and assures Liu that she can do it even if it's dangerous. Afterwards, they found a sturdy tree, and Liu informed her his plan to go there first and pull her from above. Liu quickly jumps and grabs a vine to swing towards the branch he found earlier. He then let go of the vine and uses the force to land safely. He looks back at Millie and urges her to come over, but he suddenly noticed that she's terrified. She immediately informs him not to move because a snake is behind him. Liu sensed the large snake eyeing him as its prey. In the next moment, the snake opens its big mouth to try and bite Liu's head. Liu's eyes were filled with murderous intent, and he quickly grabbed the snake by its head to strangle it. However, the fact that he left the axe with Chen troubles him, because he now lacks the means to deal the finishing blow. But that is not enough to stop Liu, because he still has another option. He opened his mouth, and with the strongest force he can muster, he bites the snake's body. The snake shakes its body from the excruciating pain Liu dealt to him. He felt relieved that it fortunately died immediately from what he did. Millie was impressed upon seeing Liu's extreme bravery and skills. From a branch, she mindlessly jumps into the other, where Liu is currently in. Liu felt that there will be another potential accident as Millie lands straight to his body, but they fortunately managed to not fall off the tree. Admiration can be seen in Millie's face as she praises Liu. In the next moment, she suddenly kissed him in the cheeks. She turns around without saying a word and grabs the vine to go swing towards another branch, leaving Liu confused and flustered. Liu and Millie are dumbfounded when they go back to the cave as Liu tells Su Fei and the others that the food they got cannot be eaten. Chen, Lingyu, and Su Fei are sad and disappointed that the mushrooms they found are inedible. Afterwards, Liu pats Su Fei to comfort and remind her not to be hard on herself, so she immediately regained her spirit. However, Lingyu is worried what to do to secure their dinner, because they still lack the resources. In response, Liu boosts their morale and invites them to go somewhere to hunt food. Afterwards, they went to the beach that he and Millie discovered earlier. Due to her excitement, Millie grabs Lingyu and Su Fei's hands to invite the two to play in the water. The three start to have fun in the beach, while Liu just watches them enjoying their time amidst the crisis. Their optimism gets him motivated as he takes off his clothes to start working. With his knowledge regarding survival, he waits in the water, hoping for his prey to show up. All of a sudden, he sensed the presence of his most awaited victim and smiles upon finally catching a seashell. Afterwards, he already caught a great number of seafoods in just a short span of time, but all of a sudden, a woman's scream can be heard. He immediately looks into his 3 women companions to see what happened, and Lingyu nervously informs him that she saw a snake in the sea. Liu immediately thought about the possibility of it being the highly poisonous sea snake, so he draws his axe to erase the threat from existence. He quickly runs to their rescue, but he suddenly finds out something important, that it is an eel and not a snake. The 3 women were filled with embarrassment when Liu tells them about it. Liu urges them to back away as he excitedly approached the eel to add it in their meal. In the next moment, he chops off its head quickly. Lingyu and Millie jump in joy now that they will have a delicious dinner. Suddenly, Millie makes him guess what they found earlier, in which he answered hairy crabs. But his guess was definitely wrong when Millie showed him an airplane debris, wherein he thought to make a pot out of it. He smashes it with a rock, to turn its shape into a pot. Suddenly, he noticed a strange behavior from the birds above. His face turned serious when he confirmed that they are flying in a low altitude, which means a rain will occur when the night comes. Afterwards, he excitedly invites them to go back to start preparing their dinner. The boiling, delicious-looking stew made Lingyu insult Liu's full and satisfied belly. In response to her insult, Liu asks her about the food she keeps in her hand, making her embarrassed. Sufei then joins their conversation and told Lingyu to eat properly. Afterwards, Liu expressed his happiness now that they have more food because he's planning to make the rest of the eel as dried fish. Suddenly, he noticed a strong wind blowing towards the fire they set up. He looks outside the cave and saw the dark clouds. He immediately informs them that they need to rush outside because a heavy rainstorm is approaching. They run outside the cave, wherein Liu instructs them to lay branches and leaves in the cave's entrance as a safety measure. He then smashes the soil to make a hole out of it. Millie asks him if he is setting traps, so he tells her that he's digging to collect rainwater as their additional water source. Upon hearing that, Millie offers to help him. The wind got stronger, along with the start of the heavy rainfall, and all of those are slowly destroying the branch and trees barricaded in the cave's entrance. Chen volunteers to fix them up, but Liu stops him because the current situation will just make it useless. All of them are getting cold, and he now worries about the possibility of the cave becoming their future graves. Sufei suddenly approaches Liu because of the freezing temperature she feels due to the storm. Right after, Liu instructs all of them to stay close together to fight the cold. Lightning and thunder accompany the wind blows as it mercilessly enters the cave, wherein Chen, Millie, and Suzuru sticks close to each other. And the same also goes to Liu and the two sisters. Liu stands in front of them as if protecting them all, but the stress already consumes Suzuru as she sobs and asks Liu if they will perish due to the grave situation.